Hello, and we're going to be talking about Carl Jung, his theory of the unconscious and the conscious, how the ego plays a role in our lives, and how maybe we can extract some wisdom, some day-to-day stuff, so we can maybe improve our lives. Enjoy.
Can you see it? The worst is over. The monsters in my head are scared of love. Falling people, listen up. It's never too late to change your love. So don't let them steal your life. Don't let them break your stride. There's light on the other side. You'll see all the raindrops falling behind. It's a revolution, and we'll make it out tonight.
Alright, I'm going to start with the conscious because that's probably something we're all kind of familiar with. I hope so. So the conscious, what is it? It is basically the assimilation of all of our sight sensations, our smells, the feelings of touch, sound, taste. It's also our thoughts and our emotions. It's basically what Daniel Dennett called the stream of consciousness. It's just all, it feels like it's all happening at once, one whole picture. In every situation that we encounter, there's an infinite number of variables that we are not aware of. For example, back in the Bronze Age, they thought disease was a curse from demons. Well, it turns out, like, you just don't eat fish if you drop it on the ground. You gotta clean that stuff, man. Like, I mean, wash your damn hands. These things that we're not aware of, they still affect our behaviors. Like, people formed religions about weather. I mean, and disease severely affected their day-to-day lives. Until we can become aware, can we really adjust to reality, then we're kind of cursed to the unconscious. Inside of all these events, all these factors that we're not really aware of, lies the root of all the meaning in our lives, all the values that we create. Our experience of something that is beautiful, we don't really know what it is that we find beautiful, but it is something that we are attracted to, and that unconscious affects our conscious. And if we are able to better identify what beauty is, then we can sculpt amazing statues and beautiful works of art. And what we find beautiful will motivate us in our lives to move towards that and create that in our life. Also within the unconscious is what Jung called the shadow. It's a cool name for a concept, I think. And the shadow is basically everything that your personality isn't. So if you're really generous, the shadow is greedy. If you're really meek, then your shadow is aggressive. The shadow can prove to be unhealthy when it is learned that it is best to repress these qualities, that these qualities cannot in any situation be demonstrated or used, that they are labeled negative or bad and repressed and pushed below. It creates a complex within us, or a mental hang-up, and these can come, according to Jung, these can form in any stage of life. Freud believed it occurred in early childhood. So did Adler with his inferiority complex. So let's go back to the ego, though. So all these things going on underneath, all our values, everything that we aren't, all our mental hang-ups, these are all things that affect the ego, or who experiences everything. So if you've got a complex, like I used to be afraid to talk to girls, if you've got an inferiority complex, that is going to affect your conscious experience of talking with girls. It is going, if you're afraid of heights, you're not going to be able to I mean, you may not know why you're afraid of heights. You could have experienced when you were younger that maybe you do remember, maybe you don't, that created a fear, a false belief that all heights are dangerous now. That unconscious belief creates an emotion that bubbles up, and then you experience it in the conscious moment, and it affects your reaction to stimuli that is in itself valueless. There's nothing essentially wrong with height. It is just your belief about it that creates the fear. And it's until you confront that fear that the ego can be able to respond appropriately. Too often we blame outside of ourselves. It's this person, this guy right here, he's the reason why I can't seem to do this. Or, if only I had more money in my bank, that would be, that would fix everything. We never actually tend to look inside of ourselves. But reality, it doesn't matter how much time we spend with it. It has no care for us. It doesn't like us. It doesn't hate us either. But it just, nothing. It doesn't really care. So eventually, hopefully, these beliefs will continuously just hit the concreteness of reality. You can only be wrong for so long before eventually it's going to create resistance within the mind, bubble up as a strong emotion, and force you to pay attention to it and understand it and try and see where it's coming from. And it's only through this emotion and having the intuition to investigate it, to go into deep introspection, can you hope to uncover these things. Biggest goal in molding the self should be creating a zero divide between reality and the self. The self should not be holding onto any beliefs. It should be liquid. It should be able to form appropriately to any situation. It should not be concrete or rigid, because if it's fragile. And this is why the practice of meditation is so important, because too often we're distracted by the outside world, by our beliefs about the outside world, our imagination, our conscious thoughts. We experience the world through our thoughts, which are influenced by the unconscious, which we don't pay any attention to. Devote some time to experiencing ourself. We drop a layer. We drop the conscious layer, or at least the conscious layer is focused on the inside, the self itself. When you're focused on the self, you can experience the impact of the unconscious onto the self. And when you can get down to the deepest roots of your unconscious beliefs, you can begin to remove them. And I think I explained why that's important. Just try and be yourself completely. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Bill Murray. I hope you enjoyed my rant. See you next time.
Right? So
that's one of my great dreams too. But go ahead. So you want?
So I'd like to just be more here all the time, and I'd like to see what I could get done, what I could do if I really didn't cloud myself with automatic. If I were able to not get distracted, to not change channels in my mind and body. So I were just, on my own channel. I was just really here and always with you. That you could look at me and go, okay, he's there. There's someone there.
Sometimes you gotta bleed to know that you're alive and have a soul. But it takes someone to come around. But it takes someone to come around. Sometimes you gotta bleed to know that you're alive and have a soul. But it takes someone to come around. But it takes someone to come around. She's a tear in my heart. I'm